You will never work here again. You're a disgrace.
No, please, I didn't mean to.
Get out of my sight, now!
The sharp slap echoed through the pristine hospital lobby as ruthless billionaire Victor Sterling struck Clara, a heavily pregnant nurse. He laughed coldly, publicly firing her and walking away with an arrogant smirk, convinced he had just crushed a worthless peasant. But the cruel tycoon had absolutely no idea that Clara's fiercely protective older brother, Arthur, was the hidden mega investor, secretly funding his entire financial empire. Victor truly believed he was an untouchable king, but his total ruin was just one phone call away. The heavy, brass-studded doors of the prestigious downtown law firm slammed shut behind me, echoing loudly across the cold granite courtyard. The crisp, unforgiving autumn wind swept through the bustling financial district. But it was absolutely nothing compared to the freezing chill radiating from the woman standing a few steps away. I, Julian Sterling, stood quietly in my faded gray trench coat, my hands tucked deep into my pockets. I had just signed the final divorce settlement, officially ending 3 long years of a marriage built on a fragile foundation of shallow illusions. My now ex-wife, Clara, stood near the edge of the polished stone steps. She was dressed in a stunning, form-fitting crimson designer dress, her expensive leather handbag clutched tightly in her manicured hands. A cruel, triumphant smile played constantly on her perfectly painted lips. She did not look at me with any lingering sorrow, hesitation, or regret. She looked at me exactly as if I were a piece of worthless, discarded trash she had finally managed to sweep out of her glamorous life. Standing intimately close to her was Derek. He wore a flashy, overly tailored pinstripe suit, aggressively jingling the heavy keys to a rented luxury sports car parked illegally at the curb. To Clara, Derek was the ultimate prize, a wealthy, highly successful executive who could effortlessly provide the lavish, upper-class lifestyle she so desperately craved. "I still cannot believe you actually signed away everything without fighting," Clara sneered, her voice dripping with pure, unadulterated contempt. "Though, I suppose a broke, pathetic loser like you has absolutely nothing left to fight for anyway. You could never give me the life I truly deserve." Derek laughed loudly, a sharp, grating sound, as he wrapped his arm possessively around Clara's waist. He looked me up and down, his eyes filled with immense, arrogant amusement. "You should be thanking her on your knees, Julian," Derek mocked, stepping forward to assert his false dominance. "She wasted 3 of her best years living in your miserable tiny apartment. Now, she is finally upgrading to a real man. Why don't you take whatever spare change you have left in those worn pockets and catch a bus back to your miserable reality?" The wealthy corporate pedestrians walking past us briefly turned their heads, their eyes lingering on my worn-out coat and Clara's glittering attire. The stark visual contrast was jarring, and the public humiliation was intentionally designed to completely break my spirit. They desperately wanted me to scream, to cry, or to fall down and beg for a second chance, but I did not give them the satisfaction they desperately craved. I did not shed a single tear, nor did I raise my voice in anger. I stood perfectly still under the gray sky, a calm and chilling mask hiding the absolute, terrifying power resting quietly in my veins. I looked directly into Clara's greedy, shallow eyes, offering her nothing but absolute, deafening silence. My silence was not a sign of weakness. It was the ultimate expression of profound disgust. Without uttering a single word of protest or defense, I simply turned my back on them and began walking down the cold granite steps. Clara scoffed loudly behind me, firmly believing she had just successfully discarded a worthless peasant. She had absolutely no idea that the silent man walking away was the sole billionaire heir to the Sterling financial empire. My agonizing 3-year undercover poverty test was officially over today. Narrator. The freezing autumn wind bit violently as I descended the polished granite steps of the downtown law firm. Behind me, the sharp sound of Clara and Derek's cruel laughter echoed loudly. They were thoroughly enjoying my silent retreat, fully convinced they had shattered the spirit of a penniless man. I did not look back. My focus was entirely on the street ahead, waiting patiently for the moment my agonizing 3-year charade would finally end. Derek aggressively jingled the keys to his rented sports car, preparing to whisk my shallow ex-wife away to their illusion of a high-class life. But before he could step toward the curb, the loud roar of city traffic was abruptly interrupted by a commanding silence. A massive, custom-built midnight black Rolls-Royce Phantom limousine glided effortlessly around the corner. It moved with the predatory grace of a titan, its tinted windows reflecting the gray sky. The magnificent vehicle pulled up directly in front of the law firm, intentionally blocking Derek's flashy car from view, asserting undeniable dominance. "Clara, what on earth is that doing here?" Clara gasped, her greedy eyes drawn to the overwhelming display of wealth. She instinctively adjusted her crimson designer dress, foolishly assuming the powerful billionaire inside might be someone she could charm. Derek stopped laughing immediately, his arrogant posture shrinking in the intimidating shadow of the massive vehicle. He suddenly looked exactly like the insignificant middle manager he truly was. The heavy rear door of the Rolls-Royce opened smoothly. Marcus, the Sterling family's most trusted executive assistant, stepped out onto the cold pavement. He wore an immaculate, perfectly tailored charcoal suit and pristine white gloves. He did not spare a single glance at Clara or her new lover, treating them as if they were invisible. His sharp eyes scanned the steps until they locked onto my faded gray trench coat. "Narrator." Marcus walked toward me with purposeful, measured steps. When he reached the bottom of the stairs, standing right in front of my utterly confused ex-wife, he stopped. Without a second of hesitation, the powerful executive bowed deeply at a perfect 90-degree angle, a gesture of absolute submission. "Marcus, welcome back to the real world, Mr. Sterling. The chairman has been formally notified. Your grueling 3-year undercover succession test is officially complete. The Empire eagerly awaits your command." "Julian Sterling, it is finally done, Marcus. I have seen more than enough today." I spoke with a chilling calmness that I had carefully suppressed for 3 years. I unbuttoned my cheap, worn-out trench coat and let it slide off my shoulders, dropping it carelessly onto the cold stone steps. I no longer carried the fabricated weight of a defeated husband. I stood tall, radiating the terrifying authority of the sole billionaire heir to the Sterling financial empire. "Clara, Julian, what is this? Did you actually hire an actor just to embarrass me in public?" "Julian Sterling, I do not waste my valuable time on worthless illusions, Clara. Enjoy your rented life." I did not give her the satisfaction of another glance. I walked right past her trembling figure and stepped into the plush interior of the Rolls-Royce. Marcus firmly closed the heavy door behind me, shutting out their pathetic existence. As the limousine silently pulled away from the curb, Clara and Derek were left standing on the cold pavement, paralyzed by the terrifying realization that they had just discarded a true king. The midnight black Rolls-Royce Phantom disappeared into the bustling downtown traffic, but the crushing silence it left behind on the cold granite steps was deafening. Clara and Derek stood completely paralyzed on the pavement, staring blankly at the empty space where my faded gray trench coat had just fallen. The freezing autumn wind whipped around them, suddenly making Derek's flashy rented sports car look like a cheap, pathetic toy. "Clara, Derek, what just happened? Was that a real phantom? Who was that man in the suit?" Clara's voice trembled, a sickening knot of pure panic tightening in her chest. Her greedy mind was desperately trying to process the terrifying image of her discarded, supposedly broke husband being treated like absolute royalty. "Derek, relax, Clara. It is obviously a pathetic stunt." Derek forced a loud, grating laugh. Though a bead of cold sweat formed quickly on his forehead, he aggressively jingled his car keys again, desperately trying to reclaim his shattered dominance. "Derek, Julian is a massive loser. He probably blew his last few pennies renting that limo and hiring some cheap actor just to save face in front of us. Do you really think a billionaire would live in that miserable tiny apartment with you for 3 years? It is a complete joke." Narrator, Clara desperately wanted to believe him. She violently suppressed the gnawing doubt in her mind, forcing a wide, artificial smile onto her perfectly painted lips. "Clara, you are right. Julian is too pathetic to pull off anything real. Let's go celebrate our new life, Derek. Take me somewhere incredibly expensive." Seeking immediate validation, they drove to the Sterling Grand Hotel, the most exclusive and impossibly expensive dining establishment in the entire city. They strutted into the opulent, gold-leafed dining room, completely unaware that the towering building, the staff, and the very marble floor they walked on legally belonged to the man they had just humiliated. Narrator. Derek aggressively snapped his fingers at the head waiter, ordering the finest vintage champagne and the most expensive imported caviar on the menu. He spoke loudly, making sure the surrounding wealthy patrons could hear his arrogant boasting. Clara leaned into him, finally feeling like the upper-class queen she always believed she was. Narrator. 2 hours later, the illusion began to violently crumble. The immaculate head waiter approached their table with a silver tray, placing the leather bill folder gently in front of Derek. Derek pulled out a shiny gold credit card with a smug, arrogant flourish and dropped it onto the tray. Narrator. Minutes passed. The head waiter returned, his professional face completely devoid of any emotion. Waiter. Excuse me, sir. Your card has been declined. Derek. Declined? That is absolutely impossible. Run it again. Your cheap machine must be broken. Derek's face flushed a furious shade of red. He hastily dug into his expensive designer wallet, pulling out 2 more cards with trembling fingers. Waiter. I have already tried all available networks, sir. Every single card is currently showing insufficient funds or a maximum limit reached. Perhaps you have another form of payment? Our establishment requires immediate settlement. Clara's artificial smile instantly vanished. She stared at Derek in absolute horror as he frantically argued with the calm waiter. The flashy, rented facade was violently tearing apart, exposing the broke, heavily leveraged fraud hiding underneath. She realized, with a sickening drop in her stomach, that she had just traded a hidden empire for a crumbling mountain of debt. The opulent, gold-leafed dining room of the Sterling Grand Hotel was suffocatingly quiet. Clara sat frozen in her crimson designer dress, the blood draining completely from her face as she stared at the pile of declined credit cards resting on the silver tray. Derek, her supposed ticket to a lavish upper-class lifestyle, was sweating profusely, frantically arguing with the impassive head waiter. Derek, do you know who I am? I am a senior executive. I demand you run those cards again, or I will personally see to it that you are fired. The head waiter did not flinch. He simply stood tall, waiting for the humiliating scene to naturally resolve itself. But the tense standoff was abruptly shattered by the synchronized, heavy footsteps echoing from the grand marble entrance. The massive oak doors swung wide open. Marcus, immaculate in his charcoal suit, stepped into the dining room. Flanking him were 4 towering security officers, and walking calmly ahead of them all was me, Julian Sterling. Narrator. I was no longer wearing the faded gray trench coat that had defined my 3-year undercover poverty test. I wore a perfectly tailored, midnight blue bespoke suit that radiated undeniable authority. The entire dining room, filled with the city's wealthiest elite, fell into a stunned, absolute silence. The head waiter immediately abandoned Derek's table, rushing forward to bow deeply at a perfect 90-degree angle. Waiter. Good evening, Mr. Sterling. The chairman's private suite has been prepared exactly to your specifications. Julian Sterling. Thank you. But first, it seems we have a slight disturbance to handle. I walked slowly toward the table where my ex-wife and her fraudulent lover sat. Clara's perfectly painted lips parted in sheer terror. Her eyes darted wildly from my expensive suit to the terrified posture of the restaurant staff. The pieces of the agonizing puzzle were violently snapping together in her shallow mind. Clara. Julian? What? What are you doing here? Why are they calling you Mr. Sterling? Derek. This has to be a joke. He is a broke, pathetic loser. You people are making a massive mistake. Derek slammed his fist on the table, trying desperately to salvage his shattered ego. Marcus stepped forward, his eyes cold and unforgiving. Marcus, you are raising your voice at Julian Sterling, the sole billionaire heir and the rightful owner of this entire hotel. Your cards are declined because your heavily leveraged accounts were flagged by our financial network the moment you attempted to spend money you do not actually have. Narrator. The color completely vanished from Derek's face. He collapsed back into his velvet chair, Looking exactly like the pathetic, debt-ridden fraud he truly was, Clara began to tremble violently. The sickening realization hit her like a physical blow. She had spent 3 years complaining about a tiny apartment, completely unaware she was married to a king. Clara. Julian, please. I didn't know. I was confused. We can fix this, Julian Sterling. There is nothing to fix, Clara. You made your choice on the steps of the law firm. I simply came to ensure you enjoy the reality of your new, expensive life. I looked down at the pile of declined credit cards, offering them a chilling, absolute silence. The grand illusion she had chased had finally shattered, leaving her with absolutely nothing but the crushing weight of her own monumental mistake. The heavy, suffocating silence in the gold-leafed dining room of the Sterling Grand Hotel was broken only by the pathetic sound of Derek's ragged breathing. He remained slumped in his velvet chair, his arrogant posture completely shattered. The massive reality of his situation was finally crashing down upon him. He had not just insulted a random stranger. He had publicly humiliated Julian Sterling, the undisputed king of the financial empire that held his own company's massive debts. Derek, Mr. Sterling. Julian, please. Derek stammered, his voice trembling so violently he could barely form the words. I had absolutely no idea. I was just playing along. It was a stupid mistake. You cannot freeze my accounts. I will lose absolutely everything. I stood perfectly still, adjusting the cuffs of my bespoke midnight blue suit. I did not raise my voice, nor did I show a single ounce of explosive anger. True power never requires shouting. Julian Sterling. You have already lost everything, Derek. My financial network flagged your accounts for severe delinquency the moment you tried to impress my ex-wife with money you do not actually possess. You are a complete fraud. Marcus, have the security team escort him off my property immediately. Marcus, with pleasure, Mr. Sterling. Marcus gave a sharp nod to the 4 towering security officers. They stepped forward without a second of hesitation, grabbing Derek by the arms and dragging him out of the luxurious dining room. He kicked and screamed, begging desperately for a second chance, but his pathetic cries quickly faded into the distance. Clara was now completely alone, trembling violently in her expensive crimson designer dress. Clara, Julian. Clara whispered, tears ruining her perfectly painted makeup. She frantically stood up and took a hesitant step toward me. Julian, you have to listen to me. I was manipulated. I was so confused and scared about our future. But I am still your wife. We can tear up those divorce papers. I still love you. Narrator. I looked down at her tear-stained face, seeing nothing but the same greedy, shallow emptiness that had plagued our entire 3-year marriage. I felt absolutely no lingering anger, only a profound, chilling sense of permanent closure. Julian Sterling, do not insult my intelligence, Clara. You made your choice clearly on the cold steps of the law firm this afternoon. You threw away a faithful husband because you desperately craved a glittering, shallow illusion. Narrator. I gave a subtle nod to Marcus. The immaculate executive assistant stepped forward, placing a sleek black leather folder onto the silver tray right next to Clara's pile of declined credit cards. Marcus. These are the finalized, legally binding divorce documents, madam, Marcus stated with cold efficiency. Furthermore, since your companion's payment methods have all been declined, you are now personally responsible for settling the incredibly expensive bill for tonight's dinner. Clara let out a pathetic gasp, staring at the massive bill in sheer horror. She had absolutely no money, no powerful husband, and no glamorous future left. Julian Sterling, enjoy the reality of your new life, Clara. We are completely finished. Without waiting for her miserable response, I turned my back on her and walked calmly out of the grand dining room. The agonizing, 3-year undercover test was permanently over, and the trash had finally taken itself out. 6 months had passed since the agonizing charade officially ended. The freezing autumn winds had long surrendered to a bright, unforgiving spring. I, Julian Sterling, stood quietly by the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Sterling Tower's executive penthouse, looking down at the sprawling, bustling financial district below. I was no longer wearing the faded gray trench coat that had defined my grueling undercover test. Instead, I wore a perfectly tailored charcoal bespoke suit, the heavy, undeniable mantle of a true billionaire heir. Narrator. A soft knock interrupted the absolute silence of my massive office. Marcus, my immaculate and eternally trusted executive assistant, stepped through the heavy mahogany doors, holding a sleek digital tablet. Marcus. Good morning, Mr. Sterling. The final acquisition reports are ready for your signature. And, per your previous instructions, I have a brief update regarding your former associates. Julian Sterling. Go ahead, Marcus. Keep it brief. Narrator. I did not turn away from the breathtaking city view. I simply listened as the cold, hard reality of their monumental mistakes was laid bare. Marcus Derrick's heavily leveraged facade completely collapsed. His company fired him following the public humiliation at the hotel. He is currently facing severe legal action from multiple creditors and was recently evicted from his rented luxury apartment. He now works a night shift at a suburban warehouse. Narrator. Marcus paused, adjusting his pristine white gloves before continuing with clinical precision. Marcus. As for Clara, the immense debt from Derrick's declined credit cards fell entirely on her shoulders. Without the secret financial safety net you quietly provided during your marriage, she was forced to sell her expensive designer wardrobe just to survive. She currently lives in a miserable, tiny apartment, ironically, much smaller than the one she constantly complained about for 3 years. I felt absolutely no lingering anger, no explosive rage, and no sorrow. The toxic, shallow illusion that had plagued my life was permanently erased. My grandfather's brutal 3-year undercover poverty test had seemed agonizing at the time, but it had successfully protected the immense Sterling legacy from a deeply greedy, parasitic threat. I slowly walked over to my massive oak desk and picked up a simple, faded photograph encased in a heavy crystal frame. It was a picture of the miserable, tiny apartment where I had lived during my test. A quiet, peaceful smile touched my lips. True wealth is never defined by the flashy clothes you wear, the rented cars you drive, or the loud arrogance you project. I spoke softly to the empty, luxurious room, ensuring the profound lesson was permanently etched into my mind. True wealth is the quiet, unwavering loyalty of those who stand by you when they believe you have absolutely nothing to offer them. And true power never requires shouting. It simply watches, waits, and eventually takes exactly what it deserves. The agonizing storm was completely over. The pathetic pretenders were drowning in the cold, harsh reality of their own unforgivable greed. Meanwhile, the silent billionaire they had foolishly discarded had finally awakened. My new, extraordinary reign had officially begun today. Forever.